Hi guys, and welcome to a wrap-up video. This one was supposed to go through all of April. I have, sorry, I'm adjusting a little bit. I have finished. I have read a book for every prompt. There were 9 prompts. This particular one is the Easter egg readathon. I found this one on Discord. I will find the Discord channel that hosted this readathon. I have forgotten what it is right off the top of my head, but I will link it in the description box. So the Easter egg readathon, it was just again an Easter themed readathon with the prompts, and there were 9, and I have completed all 9. So today is April 17th, and I've already completed this readathon. So now, granted, most of the books that I used for the prompts to fulfill this are, let's see, 4 graphic novels, 1 short story, 2 kind of short stories, a regular one, and a thicker book. So yeah, all of these. So let's go ahead and tell you what the prompts are, what book I read. There is 1 book missing from this pile, and that's because it has already been returned to the library. So prompt number 1 is Lamb, a new to you author. So for this one, so the other thing I'll link in the description box is the Discord channel that I am a host of called Autism Reads. The goal is to read a book every month. We started in February that has autism representation. Even better if the author is autistic, but that's the preference. But there's 1 book that I know of this year, so for 2023, where the author is not, but they have a family member that is autistic. So fine. Anyway, so new to you author, and this is a debut book for this author, and this is the only book out for this author, which I'm kind of bummed about because I absolutely loved the writing, and I look forward to if and when the author puts another book out. But it does say, I think this author was diagnosed later in life. Avid reader, oatmeal connoisseur. She leads I'm Head Incorporated, nonprofit on mental health, and founded a disability ministry project Didymus, aka P. Diddy, an American citizen and resident and recent Oxford University graduate. She lives in Oxfordshire, England, with her husband Daniel and their 11 plants. I want to say she was it says she was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder at 24 years old. So, graduate of Miami University. Anyway, cool. So this author is Kayla Allen Omeiza, I'm guessing is how you say that, and the book is Afrotistic. This is a YA, and we're following the main character here. She is in high school. She is 15, blanking on her name. Noah? So there's this thing called the Dean's Merit Society, which my understanding is it's similar to a scholarship type program. I'm guessing takes place in Florida, and she's trying to get on this Dean's Merit Society. She's starting at a new school, so she cuts her hair by herself and ends up with this afro, as she wants to be known for like breaking walls of stereotypes of like racism and things like that. She's autistic. She doesn't want to be known as the autistic black girl, so she's trying to find her own identity. And so, it says it's an elite honor society. The Dean's Merit Society is an elite honor society. So not a scholarship, but an honor society. So Noah is autistic. She has a little brother that is autistic, and her little brother is non-speaking. We do find out that she has other family that is autistic. One person who they think is autistic but refuses to be tested for it. They meet other people that are autistic. There are a bunch of people in this that are autistic, and that's one thing that I absolutely loved about this one. I gave this 5 stars. It was very well written, very relatable, and part of the reason why this was so relatable is that the author inserted so many people that were autistic. There's a lot of people that aren't, but there's a lot of people that are in this, and you see how just because you know one person who's autistic doesn't mean you know everyone that's autistic. Autism affects people so differently. And one thing that I learned from this book is there is such a thing as, so you have hypersensitivity where people are sensitive to sounds, lights. That's what I have. I can tolerate things, but sometimes things get too loud or too bright. There's certain smells I can't tolerate, certain textures I hate. But there's someone in this book who, I think it's called hyposensitivity, which this person loves bright sounds and loves loud and yeah, stuff. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I personally would avoid. I can kind of tolerate it to a certain degree, and then I'm like, I'm done. So it just shows you there are so many people. And one thing that I learned that I struggle with, and it was actually mentioned in this book, I struggle with identifying my emotions and feelings. It always bugged me, you know, that you get this emotion chart in school or this feeling chart, and it's like happy and you're sad and all of this stuff, and you know, you're stressed, you're this, you're that. And I could never identify my feelings. And it's like, I feel fine. I feel normal. I feel like I usually do. So I guess because none of this other stuff, I'm not crying over something sad or bad, then I guess I'm happy. You know, so it's kind of a process of elimination that happened for me. I've always struggled with identifying it, and I still hate it. And that one of the things I hate too is the pain scales at doctor's offices. I know they need it to try and help treat, but that's the other thing I struggle with, is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being barely there, 10 being the absolute worst pain imaginable that you've ever been in. I struggle with that. So, and I don't remember the word for struggling to identify your emotions, but there is an actual thing with it, and they talk about this. Noah forms a group called the Roaring Pebbles, where it is for people that are neurodivergent. Most of them that are a part of this group, not all from the same school. Some of them are from the same district or the same neighborhood and things like that. They are autistic, but they also talk about how people that are neurodivergent as far as ADHD can come and join. You have people who are not neurodivergent, so AKA they are neurotypical, and they can join to better understand the neurodivergent mind and things like that. They have guest speakers, they have adults that are at university or a college that are autistic that talk to these students via like telecommunication, like they have a prompter and the kids are all in a classroom and they talk. There's a YouTuber who is autistic in this, and so they talk to these kids about what their experience is as being autistic. How did they break certain barriers? How did they overcome what they struggle with? Lot of talk of autism in this. I thought this was very well done, and I absolutely loved the various representations of autism. It's not just one character that's autistic. There's a handful of characters in this that are autistic, and I loved seeing how everyone that is on the autism spectrum deals with things differently, how it affects them differently. Some people that are autistic love to hug and touch, and others want nothing to do with it. I'm kind of in between. I do not want to be touched or hugged by someone I don't know. I'm a little uncomfortable. I mean, if I know you a little bit, I struggle with, is this too tight? Is it too not tight enough? Is it too long? Is it too short? That's running through my head constantly. The only person I don't worry about that is my mom. That is the only person that I do not worry about anything. And I love to give my mom hugs. She's the only one. I will give hugs to family members, like some cousins and my aunts and stuff, but I have that inner turmoil. I am more comfortable giving them hugs because I know them, but if someone were to walk up to the street and say, oh, hey, I like this, can I give you a hug? I mean, of course I'm going to say, yeah, sure, because I don't want to offend them, but I am like screaming in my mind going, I don't know you, get away from me, you know, type of a thing. The other people I'll tolerate hugs from that I'm a little kind of uncomfortable with, but I tolerate more so are little kids, because it's a child and it's a very honest thing, and they will stop. I let them lead. I let them lead. They'll stop when they're ready to stop and run and go play. But for the most part, any little kids that I'm going to get a hug from, I'm going to know their parents or know the kid a little bit, so it's not this weird thing. And that's the other thing. Yeah. So I absolutely love this. 5 stars. I highly recommend. If you want to know more about autism and how autism affects different people differently, check out this book. So Afrotistic by Kayla Allen Omeiza. Loved this book. And I really want the author to have another book out. Absolutely loved. 5 stars. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Okay. Prompt number 2 is called Bunny Hop. This is to read a quick read. Well, a quick read for me is going to be either a short story or, in this case, it's a graphic novel. I read Long Distance. This was written by Whitney Gardner. I read another graphic novel by this author a while ago, which involved vampires. But this one, all I'm going to say is there's a summer camp, there's talk of aliens, and there's space. And that's really all I can say. You do have LGBT rep in this. The main character that we are following has 2 dads. And that was really cool to see. She calls one Papa and one Dad or something like that. She has her own little name for him. And you can see that one is depicted as more feminine and one is more masculine. So, like, here's her 2 dads. So, I don't know. I thought that was cool to see that and see how they were depicted. I mean, they're not in very much, but the other thing is that this character moves with her 2 dads because the one got a job opportunity, so she moves from the town that she grew up with to a new area and basically has to leave her best friend, and she is not too happy about that. So, and her dad's signing her up for a summer camp to try and make new friends. So, very sweet. I gave this one 3 stars. Loved it. I think I would have given this more stars had this been like a standard middle grade novel. I think I would have delved more into it and become more attached to the characters. But I liked it and I do recommend it. I really enjoyed it. So 3 stars. Again, I think had it been a regular novel, I would have enjoyed it more because there would have been more depth and more description to it. Okay, so next up is Holiday. This is to read an audiobook. So this one, I listened to an audiobook while I read the physical book, but I still read an audiobook, listened to an audiobook. I listened to The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I read this at the end of the day. I was tired. I enjoyed it. However, I did fall asleep a couple of times during this book and had to try to find my way back and start over. But that's just because I was so physically drained. I was just so tired. My body was just like going, I'm done for the day. So I think in the future, I think with the way that this was written and how much I did enjoy what I remember of it, I think when I reread this in the future, I will enjoy it more. At least I'm hoping so. As long as I don't read it when I'm falling asleep. So, and that is not the book's fault. That is mine. This one is, there are no chapters. This is all one big story. This particular book is 126 pages. This guy goes, it takes place mostly on the sea. He talks to himself. He tries to find the next big catch, and there's this fish that gets caught in his line, and he kind of just talks to himself, talks to the fish, talks to the sharks, talks to, he's the only one on the boat. Who else is he going to talk to? So you're just following him as he tries to catch a fish and his adventures in the sea while he tries to do that. So, yeah. I mean, not much I can really say about that because it is such a short book. So, 3 stars. And I listened to that one on Scribd. Okay, book number 4 is Spring. This is to read a recent purchase. So this one I went with Big Mushy Happy Lump, a Sarah Scribbles collection. This is volume 2 in the Sarah Scribbles collection, written by Sarah Andersen. This is just a series of comics. There's no plot. It's just kind of like you would see, for those of you who are old enough to remember the Sunday comics that came in the newspaper, you just had that little panel. It was like 4 or 5 little squares in the comic, and that was it. That's the most plot that you got for anything. And then the next week it was something completely different. That's the same thing. You have, like, here's a debate where she reads a book, how she should get a Kindle. Why shouldn't she get a Kindle? What goal does she have? Something about cuddling in the spring versus the summer, or in the winter versus the summer. How songs get stuck in her head. How the Animal Kingdom says, don't talk to me. So different things like that. Very slice of life comic type things. Pokes life at fun at certain situations. Things like that. I gave this one 4 stars. Highly relatable. A lot of stuff is relatable, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. Made me giggle a couple of times, and I loved it. And I did buy the next one in this. So volume 3 I have up on the docket to get to when I can get to it and when I'm in the mood for it. So, All right, prompt number 5 is Easter egg. This is to have a sweet treat with a book. So for this one, I read Switched by R.L. Stine. The sweet treat is that I had a Kit Kat. So yeah, Kit Kat is my favorite candy. And I read Switched. So this one we are following Nicole, and her best friend Lucy go to this wall. They jump over the wall and they switch places. So Nicole is now in Lucy's body and Lucy's in Nicole's body. And Nicole is finding things out that Lucy has done that are not so good, and Nicole wants to switch back into her body and is on the hunt for her friend. So, and you're following all of that. It's a horror thriller, so I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil it. And these Fear Street books are short stories. This one is 150 pages exactly. So this is considered more like a novella, not a novel. This is a novella. That's the standard for Fear Street. They all tend to be novellas, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I gave this one 5 stars. This is my favorite, one of my favorite Fear Street books. I reread this particular one several times. Most of the Fear Street books you can read in any order, and this is definitely one you can read these in this one in any order in that Fear Street original. It's the original Fear Street saga or whatever. So let's go ahead and move on because that's really all I can say about that one. Moving on is the library book. So this is prompt number 6. It's Hot Cross Buns, Read a Romance. For this one I read The Duke Undone, written by Joanna Lowell. It does have 3 scenes that do get spicy. But this is a Regency romance. You're following, I want to say Lucy. I could be wrong because I just read Lucy at the back of the Switched book by R.L. Stine. But you're following the main female character. She's walking to her art school. She stumbles across a man unconscious in an alley, and he is naked. And she remembers what he looks like, and she draws him. She ends up selling the painting to someone, and it turns out he is the Duke of Washington, I don't know. And he sees the painting, and he's like, oh my gosh, my penis is on display, and type of a thing, but in a more vulgar word. Or in my opinion, it's a more vulgar term. Anyway, he's on the hunt for this artist that's L, and then there's a last name, and ends up at the school, and he and Lucy meet, and there's obviously passion and tension between them from the first meeting. And Lucy lives in, I keep saying Lucy and I could be wrong, but she lives with her aunt. Her parents are dead. Alcoholism is a big underlying thread in this series, so please be aware of that. And so the main female character talks about how that has affected her. The main male lead can't have any scandals. He's trying to get his inheritance. You find out that so the main female character lives with her aunt. Her aunt makes dresses, and they get this notice that basically their whole block is being condemned and will be torn down to build something else. And she thinks that the claims for the reason why they're going to do that is bogus, and so she seeks the help of this Duke and things like that. And the Duke is on the hunt for a missing sister. You find out, he did go and fight in a war in Afghanistan. You find out why his, certain relationships in his family were not so great. This is at a time where women were institutionalized for what was called hysteria, and which nowadays it's nothing like that was, but people were found to be put in asylums for whatever reason it was. Thankfully, we're not like that anymore. But so there's a lot of talk about that, and you see a lot of people who become corrupt in higher society and try to swindle and steal and embezzle and all this other negative stuff, and secrets come to light and things like that. So I loved it. I gave this one 4 stars. It was so funny. I laughed a lot in this book. I was giggling, so I like this one. Okay, moving on. Prompt number 7 is Tulip, Flowers on the Covers. For this one I went with Housecat Trouble. This is book number 2 in the Housecat Trouble series. This is a middle grade graphic novel. There is one flower that I can see, and it's right there, but these others, it's like there's some leaves behind a rock, but that could be budding into a flower. So it's just not full bloom yet. Anyway, so I'm counting this one. This one we're following the main cat named Buster. This white cat shows up at his house, and turns out that this white kitten is lost. So Buster is going to help the kitten find their way back home. And you're following the adventures that ensue. They meet some geese. They meet some other more alley cats. There's a dog that wants to play. There's a rest home that these cats go to a rest home and cheer up an old lady and things like that. So this was fun. I gave this one, how many stars? 5 stars. Probably closer to a 4-star, but it's definitely more than a 4-star to me. And I don't know, it was enjoyable, and it's very fun, very easy. Again, it's a middle grade, and it's just really cute. And I think part of why I liked it so much is just all of the cats. The cats at one point get even with a animal control guy. There is something sad as far as you see some posters for lost cats. People are looking for their little fur babies. So, but it was a good book. 5 stars. Okay. Last 2 prompts. This next one, prompt number 8, is Egg Hunt. Read a book with a map. This one I read, A Time of Dread by Gwynne. This is book number 1 in the Of Blood and Bones series. This series takes place a couple hundred years after the events of the Faithful and the Fallen series. So if you have this book and have not read the Faithful and the Fallen series, you're going to want to read the Faithful and the Fallen series first, because there are events from that first series and characters that are referred to in this, and it'll make more sense. I mean, you absolutely have to know, you can kind of get the gist of it, but it'll make more sense if you read the Faithful and the Fallen series first before this trilogy. This one, it's the same thing. You have, and I mean highly recommend reading the Faithful and the Fallen series first. This one has multiple POVs. You're following Drem, you're following Sig, you're following... let's see, Drem, Sig, who else? Sig is the other one I came across. Riv, Bleda. There's a lot of war. There's a lot of fighting, so please be aware this does get gory with dismemberment because of the war and harm. You see a lot of bloodshed and things like that. There's a kid that does see 2 people that he cares for get decapitated, sees their head. So it does get pretty gruesome. Gwynne is not afraid to kill off characters you get attached to, so be aware of that. And it's just these people that are trying to fight. You have magic, they're trying to fight. It's good versus evil. And is the good really the good, or has the good started to turn evil? And then is the war really going to be, instead of good versus evil, is it going to be evil versus a more evil type of a situation? And that's kind of where I'm at, still trying to figure things out. But I like this one. And there were some already sad deaths in book number 1 that I was bummed about. So, one more so than the other, but... Anyway, book number 9, or prompt number 9, is Chick. Read a book that has yellow on the cover. I went with Giant Days Volume 1. I loved this one. I gave this one 4 stars. Oh, A Time of Dread, 5 stars. Easy 5 stars. Okay, Giant Days Volume 1 got 4 stars from me. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Very short, very quick read. You're following these girls as they are in college or university. One of them, I think, just turned 18 or 19, something like that. But it takes place somewhere in Europe. I don't know exactly what country, and the only reason I know it's Europe is because they talk about, there's something that's referred to as how much something cost, and they talk about pounds and pence. So, or euros or something like that, and it was that symbol with the L. I'm inclined to think England, but I don't know for sure because it's not mentioned. But these kids are in college, and plus it's in a country, in the United States, the legal drinking age is 21, and in this country it's younger than that, like 18 or 19. So you have one girl that's more like the emo gothic girl. You have one that's addicted to cigarette smoking, and they talk about that. One girl is finding out that she is attracted to women instead of men, and finding that out. But it's just about them trying to find out who they are in college. So it was enjoyable, slice of life, college life type of a thing. And I've already ordered and it has arrived. I have the second one on deck, ready to go when I'm ready to get to it. So those are all of the books for the Easter egg readathon. I've completed it. I am very happy, especially with this being the 17th. I've got plenty of room to spare. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books for my Catwalk TBR. Am I going to get to those 8 books this month? I don't know. I'm kind of doubting it. But I've already read this. This was one. There's 2 that were big. This is one of the bigger ones. And the other big book is a Robin Hobb book. I'm currently working my way through that one. I'm only like 120 pages into that so far. But I don't know. I could finish my Catwalk TBR, but I still have like 2 or 3. So not only those 8 physical books, but I have like 3 audio or ebooks, 3 digital books. So I don't know. I don't think I'll finish it, but so that's going to be it for this video. Let me know if you participated in this readathon, or not. But again, I will find the Discord that hosted this particular readathon. I will link the Discord in the description box, as well as the Discord to the Autism Reads that I am a host for. And I would love to have you join the Autism Reads Discord if you would like to read more books with autism rep and things like that. So that is it for this video. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.